Do I just want to eat every palette comparison? That might be funny. All right, time to shower. What is up, guys? My name is Ronnie and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a palette comparison between the Makeup by Mario and Anastasia Beverly Hills collaboration palette. I think I flipped that around wrong, whatever. And the Anastasia Beverly Hills Embers palette, and talking way too much. So if that is something that you're interested in, keep on watching. All right, so here are the swatches. I don't know why All right, so here are the swatches for both. As you can see, there isn't too much of a difference, almost at all, but I'm still gonna be going over them in depth. One gripe that I do have with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Embers palette is I don't like the way that the shades are named. It's A1, B2, C3. It's very much like Norvina era coded, and that is a dark side of Anastasia Beverly Hills that we just forget happened. So for the actual comparisons, I have A1 and Fifth Avenue. Pretty similar. Fifth Avenue is more golden, where A1 is more champagne. That's what I have on the very inner third of my eyes, and I don't think, like, usage-wise, occupationally, what word am I trying to say? When the shades are on the eyes, I don't think you can tell that much of a difference unless you're looking for it. Next up is A2 and Kim. Kim is more reflective. Next up is A3 and Lula. Lula is a little bit more darker, maybe a little bit more cool toned if you squint, but I think it's just a shade difference. Next is B1 and Paris. Paris is more cool toned. Next up is B2 and Isabel. Isabel is a little bit more darker. Next up is B3 and NYC, and I struggled to find a difference between these. For C1, C2, and C3, I struggled to find a difference in swatching. I will say for C1 and Bronx, that's the more olive shade, whenever I was putting them down, it looked like there was a little bit of a difference, but once they're blended out, they're practically the same shadow. So I think it was just me trying to find a difference, but these three are practically the same. And finally, just for fun, because I have 10 swatches per stencil, I did a comparison between B3 and Muse. B3 was kind of the perfect match for NYC. I couldn't really tell much of a difference. Muse was more red and reflective. So as you can see, almost all of these are a one-for-one comparison. Whenever you're stamping the eyeshadows down, you can kind of tell subtle differences between the two of these, but in practice, they're practically the same palette. And then finally, for that last row, it was all one-for-one. I'm not sure if these are repackaged eyeshadows or if maybe ABH and Makeup by Mario had a deal where, like, after about 10 years they could re-release the palette in some way, shape, or form, and they just chose to do it with the Embers palette due to Makeup by Mario having his own makeup brand, you know, his name maybe being trademarked, not really wanting to pay those royalties. But I would say that if you missed out on the Makeup by Mario palette and you really want it, as opposed to paying like $75 on Depop for an 11-year-old palette, just go ahead and buy the Embers palette. And if you stick around, you can see how they perform on my eyes. They were functionally about the same. There's definitely more fallout and pigment initially on this side, I will say. It might look a little bit more blown out. That is just like the old Anastasia Beverly Hills formula that we all know and love, being super pigmented, and then you just having to blend it out to your heart's desire. But yeah, those are the swatches. If you want to see how I got this wonderful eye look, keep on watching. Hello. All right, so we're gonna do I almost said a 3 looks 1 palette, just a regular palette comparison. I do have more than one hat. I actually have 4 hats, but for my last like 3 videos where I've worn a hat, I've only worn the one. So say hello to hat number 2. Love her. Everybody say thank you, Nick, for getting it for me. But yeah, let's start off this eye look. This mirror is filthy. Just gonna take a little bit of Violetta and put her in my outer corner. Wow, 10-ish years later and she is still very pigmented. Okay. There is a little bit of fallout, but that's honestly just kind of what There is a little bit of fallout, but that honestly is just kind of what I expect from ABH shadows because they are so pigmented. On the Embers side, I compared Violetta to C3, and can I just say I hate that these shades don't have like actual names. It's very reminiscent of the Norvina era of ABH. And I don't know, I'm just, it's kind of like what I said for Natasha Denona. This is a glam palette, where it's like inner corner, outer corner. Just put some effort, man. Make me feel like there's a concept or a thought behind, or some passion behind your product. All right, that is also very, very pigmented. There isn't nearly as much fallout. You can kind of tell because as I was putting the shadow down over here, it kind of went everywhere and I had to just keep getting bigger and bigger due to just poof on my eye. A+ description, I know, but on this side it is very well like contained. I'm trying to see, I don't really see too much of a difference between the shades. I think this side is also oxidizing just a little bit. It definitely seems like it's getting drastically more darker in certain areas, and some areas are remaining that same warm chocolate brown shade. But it also is just such a dark shade that it's not too noticeable, like if it were a blending shade or a shimmer. On the master palette, I'm gonna blend out with Isabel. So what I'm doing is since I know it's pigmented, I know it's gonna kind of go everywhere, I'm stamping it over the darker shade and then I'll kind of like blend it in. That way the initial pigment is over where there's already eyeshadow. It is blending out super nicely. I feel like we're kind of losing a little bit of like the orange look though. I've had to re-dip into Isabel a couple of times, but I don't mind a blending shade not being super pigmented since it's supposed to, you know, dissipate everything. On the Embers side, I compared Isabel to B2, so I'm just mirroring. I was looking at this mirror and I was thinking, the Anastasia label, I can't tell if you can see that, there we go, is like right in the middle. That's so inconvenient. And then I noticed this wonderful black tab for me to do just that. And so now I have a full, okay. I feel like if you look up close, this side definitely retained more of the Isabel like oranginess, where this kind of just blended away to nothing. Both are fine. If I look back, I feel like you can't tell that much of a difference. Like I'm definitely just like nitpicking, but we'll see what pops up on camera. But I can see a little bit more orange on this side, where this one just kind of like looks like the smoky brown or the chocolate brown just kind of smoked out. I'm gonna go in with just a little bit more Isabel to see if I can repigment that, just stamping it over where I blended. Like I said, this could just be a me problem because I'm up close and personal. I can't see that much of a difference, and I don't think that's just because I'm blind. Yeah, I think I definitely am just like nitpicking. I do feel like this side is like neater, cleaner, more structured, just because the shadows don't go everywhere. I feel like I'm going insane trying to find a difference. All right, so now we're gonna move on to shimmer. I feel like with my whole green ensemble, we have to take a dip into the green. So I'm gonna go in with Bronx. And I'm just stamping that right on the middle of my eyelid. Those shimmers are going everywhere. Less is definitely more with this older formula. And on the Embers side, I compared Bronx to C1. These are kind of the same, where it's like a satin matte with like a little bit of shimmer. I definitely am having to pick up more than on the other side, so I'm gonna build up to the same opacity. I feel like this side is a little bit darker. I don't know if it's from oxidizing. I don't know if it's just from the age of the shadow or if I'm just crazy, but it's just a smidge. In an effort to compare as many shadows as possible, I'm going to take just the tiniest bit of Claudia and marry the green to the brown with it. And then I definitely have to blend out this side because there's a harsh line. And then same thing on the Embers side with a little bit of C2. And take a little bit more of Isabel to blend out. Same thing on the Embers side with B2. This blending got a little bit out of control down there. It's getting like all up in my highlighter. I feel like the more I try to remove it, the more it moves instead of going away. So we're just gonna leave her right there. Cover her up with some highlighter. Looking at both eyes, I cannot tell a difference. So let's finish her up. All right, the two shades that I found the most difference in was Fifth Avenue and A1, so I'm gonna see how different they are on the eye. On the Makeup by Mario side, I'm just going in to that inner third of my eyelid and blend it out. And then on the Embers side, I'm doing the same with A1. And you can already tell this is a much more neutral kind of champagne gold as opposed to the Makeup by Mario gold. All right, here are both sides. I'm gonna do my under eye, kind of finish up the look, and then I will be right back. My tripod collapsed while I was doing my finishing up this eye makeup, so hopefully this angle isn't too jarring, but here is the final look. I don't really see too much of a difference. Like I said, this side is a little bit more gold. I don't think that's translating once, you know, in practice. I think it looked more gold on the swatch than it does on my eye, but we will see. My mascara went a little crazy, so I just smudged it out because I'm lazy like that. But this is the final look. Let me know what you think. Do you see a difference? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!